My name is Atman. I'm from a small village in the countryside. You know, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone and your business is never your own. Well, let me tell you something about myself, something that might make you judge me, but I've learned that judgment is the least of my worries now. Everyone in my village knows me as a player, a womanizer. I know, it's not something I'm proud of, but you see, I have this problem. Whenever I see a beautiful woman, I fall for her completely. My heart races, my mind wanders, and I can't focus on anything else. I've tried to be different. I've tried to settle down, but it's like a sickness inside me. Now, my father, he's a religious man, very strict. My mother too. They've been urging me to get married since I turned 25. Every family gathering, every Friday prayer, every dinner, Atman, when will you bring us a bride? Atman, your cousins are all married. Atman, we want grandchildren. I couldn't do it. I couldn't focus on one woman, not because I didn't want to, but because I'd see another woman the next day and all my promises would disappear. It was exhausting for everyone. So I made a decision. I moved to the city for work, but really to get away from my parents, to get away from the pressure, to get away from myself, I found a job, found an apartment, and thought I could start fresh. No one knew me here. No one knew my reputation. Maybe I could finally, be normal. I worked hard, kept to myself, and for a while it worked. I found peace in anonymity. That is, until I met them. I remember it was a morning like any other. I was heading to work, feeling optimistic about the day ahead. As I walked down the stairs of my building, I noticed an elderly couple struggling with boxes. They were moving into the apartment directly across from mine. I approached them, offering to help. They were grateful, tired old bones, they said. I introduced myself as Atman, their new neighbor. The man was in his 70s, wearing traditional Moroccan clothing. The woman was similarly aged with a kind but tired face. I told them I lived right across from them, that the building was quiet and safe, that they'd like it here. They thanked me, and the woman asked if I had a wife waiting for me at home. I admitted I wasn't the marrying type. The old man laughed and said I'd change my mind when the right woman came along. He and his wife had been married for 50 years. I told him I couldn't imagine being with one person for that long. The old woman said love grows, it changes you. I helped them carry boxes, set things down, and then I had to go to work. I told them if they needed anything at all, I was right across the hall. The old man called me a good man. I smiled, said my goodbyes, and turned to leave. That's when I saw her. She was walking up the stairs. A young woman. She was stunning, long dark hair, olive skin, deep brown eyes, and a shy expression. She was wearing a simple white dress, the kind that seems plain but somehow looks breathtaking on her. She was carrying a small bag. My heart stopped. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. She saw me and immediately looked down, her cheeks flushing. She was shy, almost fragile in her demeanor. She tried to pass me on the stairs, but I spoke before I could stop myself. I asked if she was with the couple who just moved in, if she was their daughter. She nodded shyly, said yes, that they were her parents. I told her I was Atman. I lived across from them. I'd just helped her parents with their things. She thanked me, called me kind. I didn't want her to leave. I told her if she needed anything, if her parents needed anything, I was right there, across the hall. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and something passed between us. She smiled slightly and said she'd remember that. Then she continued up the stairs. I watched her go, completely mesmerized, frozen in place. I went down to the ground floor, still dazed, a dreamy smile on my face. The building caretaker noticed my expression and asked what was wrong with me, said I looked like I'd seen paradise or maybe a woman. I told him I'd met someone, the new neighbor's daughter. She was incredible, the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. The caretaker frowned. He said he hadn't seen any daughter. He'd been there all morning and only saw the old couple move in. I told him he probably just didn't notice her. She was shy and kept her head down, easy to miss if you weren't looking. He seemed doubtful, but said he could have missed something. I was already thinking about taking time off work just to stay home, in case she needed help settling in, as a good neighbor. The caretaker shook his head, called me hopeless, said I fell too fast. But he warned me to be careful. Sometimes what seems beautiful on the outside, the inside can be different. I laughed him off, told him not to worry, that this was different. He muttered to himself as I left, saying he didn't see any daughter. Just the old couple, just boxes, no young woman's things. I didn't listen. I couldn't listen. I was already lost. After that, I couldn't think of anything else. I was only thinking about this girl. I wanted to stay in the building and stop working just to see her every minute. I waited for her parents to leave one day. I watched them go, dressed up for errands or visiting family. I waited a few minutes, trying to calm my nerves. Then I knocked on their door. She answered. She was still wearing the same white dress from the day I first saw her. Whenever I saw her, she wore the same thing, but I didn't care. Nothing else mattered. I asked her to have breakfast together. She said she didn't like breakfast. I suggested lunch. She asked for my name. I told her I was Atman. She said she knew that. She was just testing me. I asked her for her name. She said I'd know it at night. I liked the idea. I was so happy. I prepared lunch. I bought flowers and candles. I tried to be romantic. I transformed my apartment. Candles everywhere, on the table, on shelves, even in the bathroom. Flowers in vases on the table, on the counter, by the door. I prepared a beautiful meal. I was so nervous. Checking my reflection, adjusting the table setting, smelling the food. Then I heard a knock on the door. I opened it. It was her. She was still wearing the same white dress. Her hair was slightly disheveled, but she was still stunning. I welcomed her in, told her I wanted it to be special. She looked at the candles, the flowers, the food. Her expression was unreadable. We sat at the table. I served her food, poured tea. We talked about small things, the city, the weather, her parents. I was trying so hard to impress her, to make her comfortable, to make her smile. She looked at me with an intensity that made me both excited and slightly uncomfortable. While we were eating, I dropped my spoon under the table. I bent down to pick it up. What I saw froze me in place. Under the table, I could see her feet. They were terrifying, covered in dark, coarse hair. Thick, matted hair that looked more like an animal's than a human's. They looked almost like a monkey's feet, too long, too curved, too hairy. The toenails were long and yellowed. I stared, unable to move, unable to breathe. The spoon was forgotten. Everything was forgotten. Then I felt movement. The chair shifted. Her face appeared under the table looking at me. Her head was inverted, her long hair hanging down, her face inches from mine. Her expression was calm, unnatural. She asked what I was doing down there. I scrambled, grabbed the spoon, my hands shaking. I told her nothing, that I just dropped the spoon. I got it. I emerged from under the table, my face pale, my hands trembling. I sat back down, but I wasn't eating anymore. I was trying to find my composure, trying to pretend I hadn't seen what I saw. She was watching me with that intense stare again. She asked if I thought she was pretty. I said, of course, she was beautiful. She told me to say it again. I said it again. She told me to say it one more time. I said she was pretty, beautiful, the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. Then she smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was something else, something that made my blood run cold. She leaned closer and whispered, "Marry me, Atman, marry me." I choked on my tea. I told her we just met. We needed time. We needed to know each other. This was too fast. Then her expression shifted. Her sweet face contorted into something ugly. She started to laugh, a horrible, unnatural laugh that seemed too loud, too wrong, too much. She screamed at me, saying she wasn't like other girls. I asked her to get out if she was going to scream. She stood up abruptly, her movements jerky and wrong. She walked to the door, opened it, and left without another word. I sat at the table, breathing heavily, my heart racing. Then there was another knock on the door. I didn't want to answer, but the knocking continued. I opened it. It was the building caretaker. He asked if I was okay because I looked mad. I told him the neighbor's daughter made me mad. He said that's why he came. I looked at him, confused. He told me he'd searched all day for the daughter. He found nothing. No clothes, no room, no photos, nothing. And the old couple didn't have a daughter. Nothing. And the old couple didn't have a daughter. I laughed nervously. I told him she was just there. He must have just missed her. She just went upstairs. He said he'd been sitting in the hallway for the past hour. No one went upstairs. No one left my apartment. It was just me in there. I stared at him, my world crumbling. I insisted she was real. I saw her. I talked to her. He shook his head slowly, his eyes filled with a strange fear. He told me there was no daughter, no young woman, just the old couple, just a man and his wife, old and tired, living out their days. He turned to leave and said, I should sleep with my lights on tonight and read the Quran. Then he walked away. I closed the door and slid down against it, sitting on the floor, trying to make sense of what just happened. The next day, since it was summer, everybody was outside. All the neighbors and children were in the courtyard. I kept looking at them from my balcony. I was tired. I barely slept. I'd been reading the Quran, trying to calm my mind. Then I noticed the girl. She was standing in the middle of the courtyard. She was wearing the same white dress. She was looking up at me. But something was different. No one was looking at her. Children ran past her without noticing. Adults chatted without seeing her. Even dogs and cats ignored her. It was like she was invisible to everyone but me. I watched her and she watched me. Then she smiled, a slow smile that spread across her face. I closed the balcony door. I closed all the curtains. I turned off all the lights. I was sweating. My hands were shaking. I stood in the dark, trying to breathe, trying to think. It was my first time to be scared this way. Then I heard a knock on the door. I prayed to God it wasn't her. I opened it. The building caretaker showed up. He asked if everything was okay because I closed the balcony and turned off the lights. It wasn't something I usually did. I told him about the girl. I said I needed to make sure she was human or I'd lose my mind. We went to my neighbors. They seemed to look sleepy since they were old humans. I asked them about their daughter. They said they had no one living with them. They looked mad. They said if we wanted to check, okay. I checked. There was nobody there. I went back to my apartment, so scared I tried to sleep. But then I saw her in front of me. She was looking at me. She said, "Why don't you understand? I'm not a human, and I love you so much for a long time. I'll marry you. I'll come after 3 days to marry you." I ran to my phone to watch some Quran so I could calm down. Then I fell asleep. In the morning, I called my boss and asked for some days off. Days passed. The third day came. I went to my bed, thinking about what was going to happen next. Then I fell asleep. I had a dream. The girl came with a lot of people. There was an old man. She gave him a chair. She kissed his hand. He tilted his head like saying he agreed. I woke up sweating. I looked at my hands. There was henna. I tried to wash it off, but it wouldn't come out. It stayed. It stayed no matter what I did. I dressed and went out. I just wanted to escape my fate. I saw a mosque imam. I told him everything. He wasn't shocked at all. He said the girl was not human. What happened in my dream and the henna on my hands was our marriage. Imagine that. I got married to a ghost. It sounds crazy. The imam told me those ghosts fall for unmarried men and the ones who live alone, so I needed to get married if I wanted to escape from her. I immediately called my boss for some extra days. Then I went to my village. The moment I arrived, I didn't even talk to my family. I told them I wanted to marry a girl from this village. I asked if anyone knew someone. My mother asked what happened, why I came when it wasn't vacation, why I didn't pack any bags, why I wanted to marry so quickly. I wished I could tell her what happened, but I couldn't. My sister knew her friend who had a crush on me. She went to ask her if she wanted to marry me. The girl accepted immediately. Everything went the way I wanted. I got married. We moved to my apartment. And guess the first thing that happened? The door didn't want to open. I tried my best, but in the end, it opened. My wife felt a bit scared. She didn't know where those feelings came from. Anyway, at night she went to sleep. Then I heard her screaming. I went to her. She said she saw a woman sleeping on my bed. Then the woman disappeared. I couldn't hide the truth from her. In the end, she was my wife. I told her the whole story, the same story I'm telling you now. She cried a lot. She said I used her to escape this ghost. She was just a way to escape. Honestly, I loved her. She was a great woman, but I didn't want to hurt her. I told her to move back to her family and we'd get divorced, but she refused. She wanted to continue together. She wanted to continue together. She said this would pass. We continued our life. We saw things, but we ignored them. One day she came to me and said she was pregnant. I was so happy. It was the best thing that happened to me. One night, I was watching TV. I felt like someone was watching with me. I'd gotten used to it, so I didn't pay it any attention. Then my wife went to the kitchen. I felt like a shadow was following her. Then she screamed. I found her lying on the floor. I took her to the hospital. They told us she lost her child. It was a heartbreaking moment. I lost my happiness another time. I decided to take her to the village to live through her sadness. Then I came back looking for a spiritual person to end this. I took him to my apartment. He started talking to someone we couldn't see. He did some rituals. Then a voice said, "I'm not letting you go. I'll come back." The spiritual said we must not be in the apartment for 3 days. After those 3 days, we came back. Everything was good for the first time. We finally felt at home. My wife got pregnant again. We had a baby, a beautiful daughter. After my daughter's birth, I got sick. My family took me to all doctors, but they didn't know what was happening to me. My family took me to the village to take care of me and my family. One day, I got well, like nothing had happened to me. I asked my wife to bring me my child. I hugged her. I missed her so much. Then I asked my mother to cook me my favorite dish. She brought it to me, but it was too late. I passed away. Yes, you'll ask how he passed away, but he's telling us his story. It's me, his wife. I told you his story the way he said it to me. I lost my husband. Everyone felt it was normal since he was sick, but deep in my heart, I knew it was her. She took him away from me. I hope I knew all of this earlier so I won't take him from her so he can be alive now, but it's too late. The only reason I'm still fighting life is my daughter.